India's history is rich with remarkable narratives of flourishing civilizations, diverse religions, and vibrant cultures. Since the Paleolithic Age, India's civilization has been among the oldest known, exerting influence on the world stage for centuries, continuing into the present day. Archaeological evidence, such as cave paintings and stone tools, indicates that human activity in India dates back to around 400,000 to 200,000 BC. Although details about the civilizations during this period are scarce, one of the earliest sophisticated societies in India was the Harappan civilization, which likely flourished in the first few millennia before Christ. Located along the banks of the Indus River, the Harappan civilization possessed its own writing system, advanced social and economic structures, as well as impressive urban planning and architecture. The reasons behind the collapse of this civilization around 1500 BC remain uncertain, with some attributing it to natural disasters such as floods, while others suggest invasions from Western and Central Asia as possible causes. Following the decline of the Harappan civilization, the Vedic Aryans emerged as significant figures in Indian history. Originally nomadic tribes, they spoke an early version of Sanskrit and prioritized their tribal identities. The term Vedic people originates from 4 sacred texts known as the Vedas, which offer insights into their way of life and religious beliefs. These Vedas are regarded as the oldest Hindu scriptures, and by around 1000 BC, the Vedic civilization had disseminated its culture across a significant part of India. Accompanying their migration, the Vedic Aryans introduced their philosophical beliefs, emphasizing the importance of morality and ethics in achieving happiness and salvation. Their societal system, which they propagated as they expanded their influence, was based on one's position in life and the principle of righteousness and goodness, guiding one's path. Initially comprising 3 tiers, the Brahmin, priest, Kshatriya, warrior, and Vaishya, commoner, the societal system of the Vedic Aryans evolved over time. As their civilization expanded, they established tribal settlements across India, fostering cultural growth and facilitating trade. This expansion led to the emergence of 16 individual settlements or states in northern India, such as Gandhara, Kusala, Kuru, and Magadha. Under the leadership of Chandragupta Maurya in the 4th century BC, the Magadha region, especially, experienced significant growth and consolidation of power. Chandragupta Maurya's efforts led to the formation of the Mauryan Empire, regarded as the first major imperial power in ancient India. The Mauryan Empire chose Pataliputra near modern-day Patna as its capital, where it erected magnificent temples, libraries, palaces, and even a university. The empire excelled in trade and boasted a well-organized governmental structure along with a formidable military force. During the reign of the 3rd emperor, the grandson of Chandragupta, the Mauryan Empire adopted a stance of non-violence following a brutal conflict with the kingdom of Kalinga, as Emperor Ashoka embraced Buddhism, which was founded by Siddhartha Gautama, also known as the Buddha. Around 560 BC, the religion began to gain prominence across India. This shift towards Buddhism might have been influenced by the empire's aversion to warfare. Even though the Mauryan Empire dissolved in the 2nd century BC following the assassination of the last Maurya dynasty ruler, Brihadratha, by his commander-in-chief Pushyamitra, who later established the Shunga dynasty in 185 BC, Buddhism did not decline significantly. Despite rumors of persecution of Buddhists by Pushyamitra, Buddhism continued to thrive. During Pushyamitra's reign, his kingdom held sway over several provinces, and he successfully defended his territory against other powers seeking expansion. However, after his death, his dynasty appeared to diminish in significance. During this period, the Kushana kingdom emerged as a prominent power in India, known for its extensive trade networks with the Chinese, Persian, and Roman empires along the Silk Road. However, the Shunga dynasty's rule was relatively brief and lacked significant achievements. India experienced a diversity of settlements and invading powers during this time. In the 1st century AD, the Kushana kingdom embraced Buddhism and played a crucial role in spreading the religion across the region. In 75 AD, the Kushana kingdom initiated a new era known as the Shaka era, which had significant cultural and historical implications. In the south, while the Kushanas were influential in the north, several other kingdoms rose to prominence, engaging in power struggles and territorial disputes. Among them were the kingdoms of Satavahana, Chera, Chola, and Panja, each vying for supremacy in the region. Meanwhile, in northern India, the Gupta Empire emerged as a dominant force during the Classical Age. Under their rule, much of northern India experienced a period of unprecedented prosperity and cultural flourishing, often referred to as the Golden Age of northern India. The Gupta Empire's rule is celebrated for its establishment of law and order as well as for fostering cultural growth and prosperity. While the empire did engage in military expeditions, the rulers also pursued expansion through diplomatic alliances and peaceful means alongside military campaigns. Following centuries of prosperity, the Gupta Empire entered a period of decline during the 5th and 6th centuries. This decline was partly attributed to invasions by the Huns from Central Asia, who gradually annexed territories that were once under Gupta control. Concurrently, religions such as Buddhism and Hinduism continued to flourish in the region. In the subsequent centuries, various local and invading powers continued to vie for territory and dominance. However, a significant upheaval occurred with the arrival of Islam in India. Following the death of the Prophet Muhammad, Muslim invaders initiated missions to India during the succeeding centuries. Muslim sultans led successive expeditions into India, seizing territories like Sindh, Multan, and Samnath. These conquests resulted in the defeat of indigenous kingdoms and the devastation of Hindu temples. As Islam gradually made its presence felt in India, other prominent religions like Buddhism began to decline. The Rajputs, known for their staunch resistance against Sultan invasions, were ultimately defeated in 1192 by Muhammad Ghori and his forces. The 13th century marked the rise of the Delhi Sultanate era. Its inception began with the establishment of the first dynasty by Qutb-ud-Din Aibak. The slave dynasty maintained control over the Sultanate until approximately 1290, when the Khilji dynasty ascended to power, starting with Jalal-ud-Din Khilji. However, their rule lasted for less than a century as they were succeeded by the Tughlaq dynasty. In 1320, the Tughlaq dynasty continued to hold power until 1412, although their rule was complicated by the invasion led by Timur in 1398. As the Tughlaq dynasty weakened, they were eventually replaced by the Sayyid dynasty, which began in 1414. The Sayyids ruled for approximately 37 years, but the reign of the last ruler was marked by rebellion and discord. As the Sayyid dynasty fell from power, another dynastic authority rose to claim the vacant throne, this time being the Lodi dynasty. The new dynasty endured until the death of its ruler, Ibrahim Khan Lodi, who was killed in the Battle of Panipat by the army of the leader of Kabul in 1526. Ibrahim's death marked the definitive end of the Delhi Sultanate as a whole. Now free from competition from the Lodi dynasty, the stage was set for the establishment of the Mughal dynasty, which would go on to become one of the greatest in history. The original Turkic Mughal imperial power ruled over a vast expanse of India for over 2 centuries, fostering significant cultural growth and architectural achievements, including the magnificent Taj Mahal. Despite their immense success, the Mughal Empire began to decline around the start of the 18th century, facing numerous revolts that shook its foundations, along with threats from the Marathas and the British. The British East India Company had already been present in the region for some time, but tensions with the British escalated not long after the decline of the Mughals. By 1857, the East India Company exerted increasing control over India, leading to widespread discontent among the locals. The uprising that started as a mutiny by Indian soldiers swiftly evolved into a widespread rebellion known as the Indian Mutiny of 1857. This revolt later came to be termed the First War of Indian Independence. Despite the British managing to suppress the rebellion within a few months, it had enduring consequences. In response to the mutiny on November 1, 1858, Queen Victoria of Britain declared that India would henceforth be governed in the name of the British Crown. Following Queen Victoria's declaration, resentment and dissatisfaction among the local populace toward British rule persisted, fueling nationalist sentiments and movements. One significant stride toward independence occurred when Mahatma Gandhi and the Indian National Congress initiated the non-cooperation movement, which involved withdrawing all cooperation with the British government. After World War I, when the non-cooperation movement did not yield the desired outcomes, Gandhi shifted his strategy. In December 1929, he introduced the civil disobedience movement as a new approach to challenge British rule. The civil disobedience movement involved the declaration of an Indian Independence Day to be celebrated on January 16th, as well as the refusal to obey any directives issued by the British government. Once more, Gandhi's strategy met with failure, resulting in his arrest and the deaths of many other rebels. However, this setback eventually led to the British being compelled to participate in the Round Table Conferences, which commenced in November of 1930. Gandhi's participation in the conferences ended in disappointment once again, and civil disobedience resumed. His subsequent endeavor, the Quit India movement, similarly failed to achieve significant progress. World War II presented new challenges as India was compelled to participate in the conflict by the British. However, with the conclusion of the war, a new Labour Party assumed power in Britain and displayed empathy towards India's struggle for independence. Finally, on the stroke of midnight on August 14, 1947, India achieved independence and emerged as a sovereign nation.